Have some more people go with us this time. It'd be a lot of fun. But I'm back home, and what better time to start the podcast than right now?
That's right.
Like
I agree.
Say welcome.
I agree. Yep.
Next Steps Podcast, Episode 3. We're glad that you're here. Semi-special guest, back with us again.
Well, you have a special guest. You'll tell them later, though.
That's true. Yeah. I
right.
do. I do have a special guest today. Taking the show on the road, but I'll introduce that here in a minute. We're glad to have you back, Pastor Travis.
It's good to be back. Just glad to have you back,
Yeah,
dude.
I'm glad to be back too. I spent some time in New York City with my family and the Wilsons, and working with Hope Community Church, and that's who our special guest is actually.
Yep.
Greg Gober is the pastor there at Hope Community Church, and just had a great visit to New York City, Brooklyn specifically. Which, if you don't know much about New York City, there's 5 boroughs in New York City, and it all makes up New York City. So it's Brooklyn where we were, but it's New York City.
Do they have a lingo there, like the Bronx?
You know, they don't. It's so international, so many different people from different places in the world. I'm sure they do have some sort of, accent or something.
Yeah.
And then whenever we came, they were like, you guys aren't from here for sure. But man, met people from Australia and London and just all over. So anyways, it was really a lot of fun.
Cool.
Matter of fact, I interviewed him for about 15 minutes. Mm-hmm. We're going to play that right now.
Yeah, I think so.
All right. So we're here in New York City.
Yes.
Technically Brooklyn, which is New York City.
Technically New York City, yeah.
It's a five boroughs kind of deal.
It is.
So can you name them all?
Yes.
I did the other day.
It's true.
Put you to the test.
Staten Island.
Staten Island.
I'll say that one first because it always gets forgotten.
That's the one I forgot.
Brooklyn, Queens, the Bronx, Manhattan.
Yeah, awesome. And we're here in Brooklyn on Park Slope. You can see the trees back behind us through the windows. This is my friend Greg Gober.
Hi.
And your friend Greg Gober. If you remember, back in January of 2024.
Yes.
Greg came and spoke at our missions banquet, and we've been partnered with Hope Community in prayer. This is our second trip to Brooklyn, and excited. Greg, if you would just take real quick, in a blitz package, give us the Gober story.
Yeah. So surrendered to ministry back whenever I was when I was a senior in high school, but thought I was going to be in an established church ministry. We were never thinking about church planting, never thinking about, like being missionaries or anything like that. I thought I was just going to be in an established church doing music or youth or whatever, and I thought that was my path. But then, lo and behold, about 7 years ago, in my late 30s, the Lord called us. We didn't decide to do this. Literally, I don't know, it just presented itself, and we just said yes. And so we moved everything to New York to do something we've never done before, something we'd never planned to do before, didn't know the first thing about church planting, heard about it, but didn't know a thing about it. And here we are, by God's grace, 7 years later, which makes no sense, but that's because God's planted this thing from day one, and I think He used our lack of knowledge to, just His will be done, Yeah. We just had to rely on Him for it. So that's how we got here.
His strength and our weakness. And I don't know about you, we talked in the podcast last week about how we do stupid things often.
Yeah.
God is glorified sometimes whenever we do those stupid things. But I feel like if we were to ask you now, if moving to Brooklyn was a stupid thing, your answer would be...
Absolutely not.
No,
yeah,
not
for sure.
Not a chance.
It felt stupid at the beginning.
It made no
sure.
sense.
Yeah, made no sense.
For like the long-term plan kind of deal. But whenever His plan is in effect, like anything else can go out the window.
Absolutely, yeah. And the things that you thought were the smart things, like investing in a house and growing, everything there, and then selling everything and paying rent for exuberant amount, and none of that makes sense.
Right.
So
but having spent the last 3 days, I think 3 days here, at the park and hanging out with your people at church today, and just worshiping with you all and watching those relationships and seeing how from the last time we came in November of 2022. I think,
yeah,
right?
I think so, yeah.
Was that Savannah sitting right here? Savannah 2022, 23? And then you came in January of 24.
Right.
Okay, so was I a year off? I don't know. Whatever. We'll maybe go back and fix it. We'll doctor it. We're not going to edit this. It's totally unedited. This
Okay,
is like
great.
the raw version.
Fantastic.
But so like having that connection, seeing all of these things, watching the growth that has come from your old location to your new location.
Yes.
Just an amazing thing that God has done. It's funny, and I don't know that many of the people watching the podcast right now remember whenever we came the first time. We did some prayer walking, and we talked about different areas, and we looked at schools, and we talked about an area by a cemetery, like, was that west of Park Slope, kind of?
Yeah.
Where you all, I mean, you were just praying for anything.
Right.
But Prospect Park was like your home. This is where you wanted to be.
All of our outreach, everything. Yeah.
I mean, right now you guys are right across from Prospect
Yep.
Park. That's amazing the way God is faithful whenever we trust His plan. And you talked about that today a little bit, right? Like unwavering faith and things like that. So, a matter of fact, these people may not have watched the sermon online, but we can watch your sermon online from Hope Community.
Correct.
Today.
Yep.
Where do we find that at?
So you can look us up on YouTube, Hope Community NYC. You can listen to Hope Community NYC on Apple Podcasts, any podcast platform. We're all on all of them.
Awesome.
So.
We'll tag it somehow. We'll connect it to the podcast just so people can go back and watch. But you preached on Psalm 110 today, and
Yes.
you were talking about how Jesus is king, priest, and victor.
Right.
And I'm going to read this. This was like a direct quote from the sermon today. And you're going to have to remind me who it was that said it, because you were like, it's old school, like...
Okay.
Anyways, you said, the presence of opposition does not mean the absence of a king. No, that's not what you had said that I was thinking of, that you were talking about God's... we're going to have to go back and edit this part. What was it you were saying?
So the quote was basically, if God would give me his omnipotence, like His power,
for 24 hours.
For 24 hours,
Yeah.
you would see me change so many things in the world.
Yeah.
But if God gave me His wisdom, I wouldn't change a thing.
Yeah. And so from that quote, it led me to this one, which is what I really want to talk about. The presence of opposition does not mean the absence of a king.
Right.
And the whole idea of knowing that if God gave us His omnipotence, we would likely change things. Yeah. I mean, there's
things
so
we're not
much.
happy about.
Yeah. We at Blanchard First talked about God's sovereignty a couple weeks ago. And knowing that if we were in control, things would look a little different. But knowing that if God in His wisdom allows things to be the way that they are, there's a purpose for it all.
That's right. Yeah, I always say that if we knew what God knew, we would take ourselves exactly through the same things we've been through in life.
Yeah.
Because
change nothing.
We would change nothing.
But if I could go back, if I could just go back in time in high school, we would have won state. We would have. But that's we wouldn't change any of those things. But so I want to know though if the whole idea of the presence of opposition doesn't mean that there's an absence of a king. That's got to play out in church planning, right?
For sure.
There's plenty of opposition, and we make it. Church planning is a different. It's a different life in general. Ministry as a whole is like this too, but specifically for your context, church planning in Brooklyn, you uprooted a family from Louisiana at the time, and just made the move. And then, of course, from the time COVID and until we find ourselves now, there's been plenty of opposition.
Yes.
But there's no absence of a king. So what does that look like in church planning?
Yeah, well, and especially in New York City, the enemy owns this city. He's owned it for a long time. This is a very influential city. If this city was reached for the gospel, who knows how the world would change? Not just the United States, but how the world would change.
Yeah.
So the enemy runs this city, and with that comes all the opposition, you could run into aside from, being martyred for your faith,
Yeah.
But you've got people who are here that they don't want us here. And anytime we do an outreach event, we get people who scoff at it. We get people who are annoyed, that we're a church and that we're out there doing stuff. There are plenty of people who have a voice against us as a church or planting a church or, anything like that. We've run into some spiritual warfare. I didn't really know what that was, I don't think, until we moved here. And then you really kind of see that. But we through it all, we have a church that exists, and it's growing.
Yeah. I mean, massively compared to whenever we were here last time.
Right. And that is just proof that even though we have opposition, the king is still on his throne. He's still ruling. God can get through all of the noise, and he does. And we are seeing people come to know him. We're seeing people baptized. We're seeing, people come into the church and are very curious. We go to outreach events. We have conversations with people, deep conversations, even if we never see them again. Like, the gospel is being put out there, and that's because the king is on his throne. And no matter the opposition, he's still ultimately king. So.
Yeah. So looking back, knowing that God has seen all this come through, we would change things, but knowing if God gave us his wisdom, it would be the same.
There were things that you go through in church planting that you're sitting there and you're like, why? Like, why is this happening right now?
Yeah.
Why do we lose the space? Why is this family moving? Like, why are all these things going on? And if you had the power, you would have changed some things.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, we waste a lot of time with anxious doubt. Think of all the things that we could have just been joyful through, just knowing that we can just trust him because it's his thing, right? And that's one thing that I've learned a lot is just why be anxious about anything, because he's going to take care of everything. And so, knowing what I know now, I wouldn't change a thing. I would have changed things along the way.
Sure.
Now I would never have changed any.
And tomorrow you may revert and be like, oh, I wish this would change.
That's the depravity of humanity.
Absolutely. Well, I'm not going to ask you to give us the sum up one sentence version of the Melchizedek story that you shared with us this morning at service. I'm not going to do that. If you could do that, that'd be awesome.
Okay.
We're not going to do that, though. I just want to, our podcast is called Next Steps. So knowing we went through Psalm 110 with you all today. At home, we're going through the story of Habakkuk and kicking off chapter 2, verse 1 this week. But kind of a similar kind of idea, knowing that Jesus is King, Priest, and Victor, and he's in control. What would the people at Hope Community who heard the entire service, those who are watching this podcast that may be Blanchard First family or friends that may go back and watch it later, what would be the next steps to be able to live out Psalm 110 in a way that would be glorifying to God?
Yeah, I mean, to have a king means that you live in submission to that king. And so that's one next step right there. What areas of my life am I not submitting to the King of Kings? What areas of my life am I the king of, right?
Yeah.
Whenever we think of bringing up our children, when we think about our future, whenever we think about all these things that makes us anxious, a lot of times we act as king in those little areas. Yes, he's my king, but really I'm the king in this area. Identifying those things and saying, no, you're the king. I trust you with it, right? Being responsible, of course, while we live our lives and living in obedience and all of those things, but ultimately giving that to him, that takes off so much anxiety on our plate and so much worry and fear. And I believe that we are better followers whenever those things are removed from us, right? Yeah. Scripture tells us to cast our cares on him, tells us all the time, don't be anxious, right?
Yeah.
And because we are better followers of Christ when that is absent in our lives. And I would just say, as far as the priest, that he is our priest. I think the next steps and what I wanted my church to understand is, and we have so many different types of people in the room, different levels and, different maturity and things like that, some even not believers. But there are a lot of people who are trying to get into God's good graces by what they do, rather than just by resting in the good grace they are in because of what Jesus has done.
Yeah.
And in that manner, I told our church, sometimes we act as our own little priest whenever we're using our own good deeds or actions or whatever to get in favor with God.
Right.
We've got all the favor we ever will have with him if we have put our faith and trust in Christ.
Right.
So where am I being a little priest, in my own life and things like that, and then just resting in the fact that he's victorious, he is the victor. Everything is going to be put underneath his feet, Every enemy will be put underneath his feet. Everything we could hope for is going to be accomplished. It doesn't make, I mean, we're going to go through things in life. We're going to have bad circumstances, all those kinds of things. But there's hope in the future. And that's what differentiates Christians from anybody else, is that we have hope in the future. Whenever you have hope, which is the name of our church, when you have hope, it changes the way you live.
It does. It does. And I think that's the greatest part about all of it. We've been talking a lot about yielding at Blanchard First, and you're talking about submitting to the King and resting in all of that, knowing that even in opposition, God's in control, being able to move forward, doing the things that you're doing, no matter what the world says around you. And that gives us hope, because it takes a lot of things out of my hand. I can't accomplish, but He can. I will never accomplish, but He has. And so
it's funny how much God tries to take off of our plate, but we bring back to our own plate. It's like,
I got this.
Give it up.
I got this. Don't worry. I got this.
Yeah, right.
So, well, I appreciate you, man. It's been good. It's a great trip. Ready to come back.
Yeah, you guys have been fantastic. And thanks. I want to say thanks to your church. Thank you guys for praying for us and just being advocates for what's going on here in New York City. We can feel the prayers. We know they're working. God's doing amazing things.
Yeah, for sure. Will you invite them back next time?
Come on a mission trip. Let's go.
All right. We'll see you back home.
I'm trying to get excited.
So while we were shooting that, we were in his living room of his 4th floor apartment, and just literally right across from Prospect Park. His neighborhood is called Park Slope, which is where they wanted to be. Prospect Park was the area that they wanted to minister to and wanted to plant the church in, but originally they were blocks and blocks away at the church that was available, the building that was available for them. We prayer walked while we were there. He prayer walked after we left, and just so happened to cross paths with another church planter who was like, "Hey, what are you doing out here?" And he was like, "Hey, I'm praying for a place to plant a church. We're already got a church, but we want a place closer." And he said, "Well, hey, call me later." Worked out the whole deal. They ended up moving to a place where they loved, and Hope Community got to plant right across from the park. It was an amazing story. But anyways, while we're there in his 4th story apartment, we're doing this, and you saw it, his dog comes up in the middle of the shot, and it's just looking around. And so it was funny. We had a great time, and a really, really good time, but dealt with some heavy stuff. His sermon on Psalm 110 kind of falls right in line with the last 3 weeks in Habakkuk. He used another way to say it. You said that we shouldn't confuse God's delay with God's neglect.
Yes. Right. Really, it was like God's delay does not mean God's neglect.
Yes. Basically. His way that he put it was we shouldn't confuse or don't equate the presence of opposition with the absence of a king.
That's good.
You're talking about yielding to God. He used the word submit. It's the same thing.
Yes.
And so, but what I liked about, I went back and listened to the sermon on Sunday. What I liked about that sermon, very first point, you started off with something that was really very real, I think, in a believer's life. Talking about how easy it is in difficult times to turn our backs to God. And you said we cannot begin to drift. We have to avoid the drift.
Yes.
What does that look like for us in a day-to-day aspect?
I mean, to avoid the drift, as a believer, we got to stay in the Word. That's key. Not only that, we have to pray. We got to keep our prayer life. We got to be disciplined in our prayer life. I think striving to live obediently to what we read in the Scriptures, wanting to live a life that glorifies and honors God. If we're not reading the Scriptures, if we're not praying, if we're not being obedient, it's going to be so easy to drift when you find yourself in a crisis, when you find yourself in a tough time in your life. And the reason for that is because, I don't know about you, but in those moments it's easy for me to flesh out. Hey man, I can get angry at God. I can get bitter. And I'm mad sometimes at God. But when I remain regularly in the Scriptures and I'm praying regularly, I'm reminded time and time again in the Scriptures that God is always working. I may not be able to see it at that moment. But all throughout Scripture, you think about it from Genesis, right?
Right.
sin enters into the world, and God makes that first, what they refer to as the proto-evangelium verse, right? Genesis 3:15. And he says, there's, paraphrasing this is Travis paraphrase, but, out of the seed of a woman is going to come a man that's going to smash the head of the one that strikes at the heel.
Yeah.
In that moment, God was saying, I knew this was going to happen. I've already am at work. That would be, granted, it'd be another 4,000 years.
Yeah.
Right? And so man had to wait 4,000 years. And in the Old Testament, they're looking forward to that moment. And then it finally arrives. And then you have many who, sadly, turn their back on it.
Right.
So I think when you read the scriptures, for me, from Genesis all the way to Revelation, life, Bible never says life is going to be fair.
Right.
And, God is a God, and I said this Sunday, but he's a God who is, and this was a recap from the Sunday before, but we're reminded constantly he's eternal, he's holy, he's sovereign, he's faithful.
Absolutely.
And so to me, to avoid the drift, that's what we have to do.
Yeah.
It's constantly be in communication with the Lord.
Yeah. Which is weird. We feel like that's something that, it just becomes natural for a believer. We just constantly, we want to talk to God, or we want to listen to God. And then we find ourselves in a week. I have a group that I meet with on Fridays, and we talk about our prayer life. And it's kind of, for me, embarrassing sometimes that I have to say, hey, look, I'm not in prayer as much as I should be. And I think that that's where we oftentimes find ourselves.
Yeah.
And it's not maybe even because I'm angry. Sometimes it's difficult when things are tough. But man, whenever things are good, even.
Yeah, absolutely.
We you don't go to the doctor when you're well.
Yeah.
So it's really difficult to not turn our backs when times are difficult, when times are easy. And so that drift begins to happen.
Yeah.
And it's really hard. Then whenever you realize, you said it, Greg said it, both, like yielding to God and submitting to the King, and that becomes really difficult whenever we don't know what the King desires of us.
Absolutely. Yep.
And so, that constant communication with him is huge. And being in his word, prayer.
Absolutely.
Exactly
Yep.
what he said.
Yep.
So that's good. That's good. Unwavering faith was another thing that you talked about, how God rewards unwavering faith. I don't know. Sometimes everything just feels so shaky, and like all I do is waver.
Yeah.
But knowing that, you're staying the course, you're doing the thing, you're gonna fall, you're gonna stumble, you're gonna mess up. But being faithful, even whenever you have no faith.
Yeah.
And that's a weird thing to say. I think we don't ever want to admit that we doubt God. Or, you said sometimes I can get angry at God. We don't want to say that.
Yeah.
If we say that, then that makes us guilty. Well, I'm guilty.
Absolutely. I am too.
There are times whenever my faith wavers, and we read it in Scripture, wavering faith. Then we see Jesus, who was in the garden, and his faith could have wavered.
Yeah.
He was praying, and he said, if there's any way that this cup can pass from me, let it be, but not my will, but yours be done.
Absolutely.
And you talk about unwavering faith. Obviously, we're talking about the Son of God.
Yeah.
But he was fully human.
Yes.
You and I will never reach that level where, we just perfection, obviously. But in our life, our day-to-day life, we can get to a point where our faith is a little less shaky, maybe. What is that like? How do we get there?
To an unwavering faith?
Yeah,
Okay. Well, I'm gonna sound like a broken record, but it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Remaining in His Word, and I know, we think, man, that's the Sunday school answer, right? That's the easy answer.
Sure.
But it's not so easy.
Yeah.
We say it's the easy answer.
Right.
But disciplining yourself to get up and to study the Word of God on a regular basis, it's tough.
Yeah. Takes discipline.
Takes discipline.
Sure. Yeah.
Praying takes discipline.
Yeah.
I think the more we pray, the more we read, the more we obey. And I truly believe if we, that unwavering faith that we're talking about with Habakkuk, he wanted to know, what are you going to do with the Babylonians? And God's getting to that eventually. We'll get to that eventually, but God was going to get to that. But he was wanting to know right then. Unwavering faith, I believe, is this idea of continuing to trust, continuing to go back to the Lord. We may still be a little bitter. Mm-hmm. We may still be frustrated.
There's some hurt there.
Yes, there's some hurt. But that's one of the things we learned about Habakkuk. Man, he just kept going back.
Yeah.
And in verse 1 of chapter 2, he's saying, I'm sitting here on the watchtower. The watch post is the actual ESV term, but I'm sitting here and I'm going to wait. Mm-hmm. I'm not going anywhere until you answer me.
Yeah.
And that's an unwavering faith. It's not him trying to figure out a solution. It's him going to the one that he knows has the solution.
Right.
But, that statement, he rewards our unwavering faith, doesn't always mean he's going to answer in the way we want.
But yeah.
When I said that he's going to reward our unwavering faith, the promise is that he will answer our prayers.
Right.
And as I stated Sunday, it's either yes, no, or wait.
Yep.
We like the yes.
Love it.
Not huge fans of wait.
No.
And we definitely don't like no. Right?
I'm okay with wait as long as it happens quick.
Quick, but
I don't
it doesn't
have to wait long.
But Habakkuk, it was going to take 70 years.
It's going to take a long time.
You go back to Genesis. It took 4,000 years from the moment he said it to when it happened.
Yeah.
Christ made a promise he's going to return. Here we are 2,000 years later.
Yeah.
So we got to continue to have that unwavering faith to believe that he's going to hold true to his promise.
Right. Yeah.
So to me, that's an unwavering faith. It's me returning to him even when I don't understand.
Right.
And I'm going to continue to fix my eyes on him.
Yeah.
In all situations. Doesn't mean I got to like it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I know that he's always faithful.
Yeah. Not always agreeing with the answer.
Yes.
Not seeing it the way we expected to see it. Yeah. And then the waiting part.
Yeah.
You
and
mentioned
tough.
on Sunday, 70 years.
Yeah.
We were coming home from New York City yesterday, and we're sitting at. Actually, we're getting lunch because our plane didn't leave till 6:15. Mm-hmm. So our flight was scheduled at 6:15. We're getting lunch, and then all of a sudden I get this text from Delta that was like, "Hey, your flight's been delayed like an hour and a half," and I was like, "Oh, geez." And I tell everybody's fine except for Asher.
Yeah.
Oh man, he was like, oh. And then we got another text. It was like 15 more minutes. Oh. So, anyways, we get on the plane at I think it was like 8:30. It finally boarded, and the pilot. Love pilots because I can't fly the plane. So if you're a pilot, especially you, Captain Bob, I appreciate you guys. He gets on the intercom and he's like, "Hey, just to let you guys know, it's going to be a really short flight, 2 hours and 50 minutes. We're number 4 in the queue. Sorry, we had to do some extra paperwork." And literally, we're sitting on the plane 30 minutes at the gate.
Wow.
Finally, we push off. We start pulling around. He tells us we're number 4. Me and Asher are sitting here. Emily and Jackson are here. The Wilsons are right behind us. And I hear Ronnie and Janet kind of talking. I turn around and I say, "Yeah, I think people are cutting us." We went from number 4 to number 44, I'm sure. Finally, we get home and it's like, man, 12:30.
Oh, wow.
That would have been nice if I would have only had to wait the 15 minutes maybe originally. Yeah. But, you're talking about 2,000 years later, here we are still waiting for Jesus to return. Yeah. And that's unwavering faith. Man, if we can wait, if we have a hard time waiting 3 hours for a plane to take off, how much more is it for us to, so that's something that I need to discipline myself on in the unwavering faith
I think
department.
We all do.
Yeah, absolutely.
We all do. Yeah.
Absolutely. I feel kind of strange, like this, the last couple weeks, this podcast has been pretty jovial,
yeah.
kind of funny.
It's a little deep, huh?
It's a little deep. It's a little heavy.
It is heavy.
Kind of convicting.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that's where we are.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things, and we talked about this, just appreciating going through an entire book. And we deal with some weighty stuff.
We do.
And I know that myself, and I'm sure you who are watching and listening, we need to hear these things. We need to wrestle with these things. We need to understand that we have a part to play in our faith. We have a part to play in our knowledge of who God is. We can't just sit on Sunday and listen to a pastor preach. As much as I enjoy listening to you preach, and Greg, I enjoyed listening to you preach on Sunday, we can't just leave it there.
Yeah.
It takes us digging into the Word.
Yeah.
It takes us being in constant communication with the King.
Absolutely.
And understanding who He is.
Yeah.
And His character and applying His attributes. Like
absolutely. That's the hard part.
Yeah, this one a little weightier.
Yeah.
We'll I don't know, you got a joke or something in it?
I can't think of a joke.
Yeah, we won't try to turn it into a comedy podcast or anything.
I don't know. I think it's all right.
Yeah,
I think they understand.
It'll be good. It'll be good.
If they were here Sunday.
Yes, absolutely.
It was a weighty sermon.
And if they weren't,
yes,
absolutely.
Yes, go back and
for
watch.
those of you who may be joining us through Hope Community, maybe that crossed your paths because Pastor Greg was on our podcast for a little bit. If you want to come to our website, BlanchardFirst.com, you can find us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple iTunes, all the things, or Apple Podcasts. Same thing for Blanchard First family.
Yes.
Hope Community Church has their things all online as well. We're going to try and cross-post some of that stuff, and you'll see it there, hopefully in the bottom of the screen where they can click on some links and stuff like that. But, man, let me tell you, I'm excited about Sunday. I'm ready to tell you guys all about the trip.
I'm excited to hear about it.
It was a lot of fun. And seriously, Pastor Greg said, you come on a mission trip. And I'm serious.
That's good. That's good.
Y'all come on a mission trip. I'm not ready to pack my bags and move there. But
well, I don't want you to move there.
No, it's great. It's great to visit. Yeah. Well, of course.
Yeah,
of course.
yeah.
I will say, my oldest son, he said, I'd rather get swallowed by a fish. And I told him, buddy, you better be careful.
Yeah,
because as
be
soon
careful
as you
what
say
you ask for.
yes,
Yep.
as soon as you say no
Yep.
or never, that's
Yep.
when God tells us.
Yep,
that
that's true.
We better pack
That's
it up.
true.
So I'm not going to say never, but I'm not ready to do that.
I
at
understand.
all. Here at Blanchard First, that's where I
Yeah.
am. So.
Well, we're glad you're here.
I am too. I'm glad that you guys joined us
I
today.
am
Thanks
too.
for joining us, Pastor
Yeah.
Travis.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Pastor Greg and Hope Community. Hope you guys are doing well and continuing to pray for you and the work that you're doing.
Yep.
And we'll see you next time. So,
See you, church.
yeah, that dog was really funny. We were sitting there talking.